Hi everyone. So today I wanted to talk about this e.l.f. Camo CC Cream. I believe when I had asked somebody, when I had asked here on YouTube with a little like community post, someone suggested this, and when I looked at swatches online, I think in a video, it seemed really dark. So I didn't buy it. And then I was on e.l.f.'s site for another reason. I was like, let's see what their little foundation finder thing is. It's one of those services that in my experience is not very accurate, but based on the things I put in, it did say that this color would work. So did I mention the color? It's Fair 120N, which makes me think maybe they'll bring out lighter shades at some point, hopefully. It is a little dark. It's not unusably dark, but it's definitely like on the edge of what I can get away with. It's darker than my neck by a good like full shade or so. So I do, I don't wear full coverage. I wear more light to medium coverage, and but the coverage on this is pretty intense, and with one pump I covered my whole face. This is kind of the maximum amount of coverage I tend to wear, because it takes a lot to cover freckles. I don't want to cover my freckles, but sometimes I do accidentally get a little too much. And then, so this does have quite a bit of coverage, and like, yeah, I have to be careful that I don't have too much, because then since I don't have a lot, I don't have nearly as many freckles with the same intensity on like my cheeks as I do on my forehead. My forehead gets a lot of sun. Inevitably, those freckles do get a little darker, even though I wear SPF every day. So I'm going to include some swatches, and you can see what it looks like compared to things that are a better match for me, things that I like to wear, and we'll come back.
Alright, so this is the Lancome Tint Idol Ultra in 95W. It's a little bit darker, and I feel like it gets a little darker when you swatch it, but not so much on my face, at least. My face. 95W. Yeah, so the undertone is a really nice match for me. It works good on the redness. And this is the e.l.f. Camo CC Cream in Fair 120N. It's a little bit more peachy, and it does get a little bit darker when it's swatched. This is the MAC Nourishing Waterproof in NC12, which gets much more golden when you swatch it, and it is so much darker than the same formula in W13, which I recently reviewed. It is so dark. This is something I've been testing lately. It's the Rare Beauty Foundation in 100W. It has that kind of nice, light, cool yellow undertone that is a good fit for me. It looks very bright here, but on my face, it works pretty well. This is the Clinique Beyond Perfecting in CN 0.5 shell. That's also a good match for me when I'm looking to match to my neck, which is quite a bit lighter than my face. These are two shades that are a lot closer to my neck, though sometimes it can look a little lighter in pictures. This is the Revlon Color Stay in 110, kind of a throwback when there weren't any options for pale foundation. So this and the e.l.f. I feel are pretty similar. They both have kind of a more peachy undertone. The Revlon maybe is a tiny bit lighter, I'm not sure. And the last one is the old formula Lancome Tint Idol Ultra in 90N, which is also that peachy undertone, and I figured would also probably be kind of similar to the e.l.f., though I do think it's a little bit lighter. But everything here is workable at a lighter coverage if I blend it down my neck, that kind of thing. But I do prefer something a little bit lighter, like those two shades in.
Okay, so you can see from the swatches, it's pretty dark. Compared to things that I consider are a better shade match for me. It, like I said in the swatches, it's wearable, but I do have to blend it down. And just, try not to be too heavy-handed. I feel like the formula feels expensive, whatever that means. It's easy to use. It says it's a natural finish, and I feel like totally agree with that. I do think it's something that I need to set for sure. And it doesn't seem to grab onto dryness in the way that a lot of foundation does for me. Like, and it probably also helps that it's a little bit darker, so it's not going to be as obvious when you're using these really pale foundations. And I am going lighter on my face to match up with my neck. Sometimes that really light shade can kind of grab onto dryness, but this is just like thick, but not thick in a way that's unpleasant. It's just like a very pleasant thickness, and it has a lot of coverage. I only used one pump and I didn't use all of it, and I did go under my eyes. I do feel like it's a little bit too emollient to wear well under my eyes. It does tend to crease really fast, and so I end up almost always like setting the creases accidentally. Because it's a little bit darker, I do like to use a powder to set it that is more on the white side of things, as opposed to something with a little bit of a, tint to it. So in some foundations, I find that NARS Light Reflecting Setting Powder pressed to add too much white, but this is a time where I would be happy for it to add just a tiny bit of a white cast to make it a little bit lighter, as opposed to looking a little bit darker. For the wear, it wears really nicely on all of my face except my chin. That's where I've struggled with it, doing this thing that some foundations do. Now, I have found that it varies how much it does this thing based on what skincare or primer I have underneath it. I'll show a picture of the day that I recorded this video the first time, what it did, and it's like the little sebum filaments in my chin. Some foundations, it's like it causes them to start coming out of my chin. So it's like I have all these little like bumps of sebum that are trying to come out of my face. I don't know why some foundation does this, but it does. And then not only do you have that, you also have the foundation kind of like pooling around each little pore. And so it ends up looking very polka dotty, patchy, funky. So I don't remember what skincare I had on that day, but I do think it's not something that I normally did. So I've kind of played around with what sort of moisturizer I wear underneath my SPF, which SPF I'm wearing. So I will put the details of the skincare I have underneath it today, and I'll show you the picture that I took from that first time, and also maybe a picture from today to see how it wears on my chin today. Hopefully better. So that's my only complaint, and I think this is one of those foundation type products that does, as it gets towards the end of the day, my face starts to feel a little itchy, just because that oil is kind of coming to the surface. And most foundation, I find towards the end of the wear time, like around 8 to 10 hours, it does start feeling itchy. If I do scratch my face, I will claw away a whole bunch of product. It's not one of those, kind of resistant to transfer type deals, and with like a natural finish, with it being a little bit more thick, a little bit more emollient, to me that's not super surprising. I haven't had any issues with it causing breakouts or anything like that. I don't have, my skin is like acne prone to an extent. I do use products daily, like morning and night, to kind of help keep the acne at bay, but like today I do have some large bump that's like trying to make its presence known, but I haven't found that this has any sort of effect on the type of acne that occurs on my face. And as far as creasing on the rest of my face as opposed to under my eyes, so generally I would wear a concealer under my eyes as opposed to this. A lot of times with other foundation formulas, I just use the foundation underneath my eyes and it's fine. I don't like a lot of coverage under my eyes because I think it makes me look rather strange. I feel like in like texture, application, all that, it's similar to the MAC Pro Longwear Nourishing Waterproof Foundation, which this wears a little bit better for me and is not as emollient feeling, but the like thickness and how it applies and the finish of it I think is similar. I think this is just a little bit more on the like long wearing foundation side of things, and this is a little bit more on the like kind of skincare with a lot of coverage type side of things. I don't know how it compares to the Cosmetic CC Cream. That has a smell I cannot stand. I'm so glad they did not put a fragrance in this. The one foundation I did try to use from e.l.f., the something lasting finish, I don't remember what, I've talked about it before, has this massively strong fragrance to it, and I cannot handle it. So glad this doesn't have a fragrance. That really can make me not want to wear a product when it has a strong fragrance. I ended up throwing that e.l.f. foundation away really quickly, actually, because it was just so overpowering. It was like putting perfume on my face. I could not handle it. So very, very glad they did not put any sort of fragrance into this. And like the Cosmetics has that like citrusy smell, which I also am not a fan of. The Cosmetic CC Cream also, I don't know if they have lighter shades now, but previously their lightest shade was quite dark. It's probably darker than this or similar to this, and if I'm paying for high end and a smell I do not like, it's just not gonna fly. I'm not gonna do it. It also just did not wear well on my face. I think I may have bought it and then returned it because it was just such a flop. I'll see if I ever put it on my channel. I really can't remember, but I do know that it was not, the color was too dark and the formula I didn't like, and it had a scent. It was just not good, and they were really weird about like trying to be inclusive on shade range, but doing it in a way that was completely not useful. So I've been kind of like not wanting to support It Cosmetics. I hope they've gotten their act together and have expanded their shade range of their most popular foundation product, the CC Cream, because that's what everybody wanted to use. But like there was just nothing at the deep dark end of the spectrum. They didn't even go light. It was just like, what are you all doing? Catering to these like light medium people, and that's it? Everybody else can, you know. Ugh. So that was very annoying. I got really frustrated with that because they brought out this concealer range with like 50 shades, and that's lovely. But if your foundation, your popular foundation, doesn't come in those shades, what? Why are people going to buy your concealer if they can't buy a base that goes along with it? So that was, anyway. So I don't know how they compare, which is probably not very helpful. But if I can find that I ever swatched it or put it on my face, I will include a link to that video. Ooh, ranty. Okay, so trying to wrap things up. I do feel like it is a very nice product, and I would definitely recommend it if you can find a color for you that works. It is a little bit more expensive as far as e.l.f. products go, but I do think it's really nice. Foundation is something that it can be hard to find something that works on your face sometimes. I mean, for me personally, I know my skin just doesn't like foundation all that much, and so I have a tendency to have issues. I do hope that they expand the shade range on this to go in all directions, more equally applied to everyone. So hopefully, what with the 120 naming, that means that they may be coming out with a 110, a 100, you know. I hope they do. The packaging is nice. I feel like, you know, they're obviously playing off the cosmetics things with this little, what's that called? I would say holographic. I'm not sure if it's holographic. Yeah, I think so, because it's got a rainbow. On the packaging, it feels nice. It feels expensive. The only downside is with having a clear cap, you know, you can see when the foundation gets in it, and it just looks kind of mucky, which, you know, that is a common problem for a lot of different products, so I can't really say anything. In theory, it has nice skincare stuff in it. Whether it matters, I don't know, but I appreciate the effort. Maybe that's part of why it's a little bit more expensive. But I do think it is worth the price in this case for sure. Let me know if you've tried it out, if you had a shade that works for you, if you also find those foundation finder things to be totally bogus, because I'm quite sure I told it that this was a match for me, and it told me I could wear this, which is like, I can make it work, but it's definitely not even close to the same color. Yeah, so let me know if you have any thoughts, experiences, whatever about it below. If you have any questions, of course, also let me know. And if you just want to say hello, please. I enjoy your comments very much. I hope you're having a great day. I hope this was helpful, and I'll see you soon.